Hi!
Hi.
Today you're about to listen to a very special episode that will help you live your A-plus life. I'm excited for my dad to share with us his way of thinking that helped him stay positive and motivated to work hard despite difficulties. This is a very special episode and hard to come by because I rarely get to see my dad now because he lives overseas, and I'm also really grateful that he was able to visit me in my adult apartment and to film this episode with me. So, how about you give some introduction to your background?
Hi. I was born in China and I spent the first 27 years in China and then went through my college and graduate school and then I came to US and then first several years in university and then I went to the industry for another 20 something years.
Yeah, so my dad moved to the US when he was 27 and with my mom, right?
Yeah, I got married, meet your mom in college.
Yeah, and then he did his postdoc in the US.
After I came to US, it's much different world.
My dad would tell me that it's very funny now that my sister and I have so many pencils at home that we have to throw away. But when he was younger, they would cherish every single little pencil where they would use it up until like a tiny knob.
Yes.
Because they didn't have resources like that. So to think that now we have a surplus of things as simple as pencils, which to them was a very valuable resource. You told me how you were living in how big of a hut?
It's probably 250 square feet.
Yeah, so this apartment, we thought it was small, but it's like 600 square feet. My dad, his two siblings, his two parents, and grandma, 6 people were living in a 250 square foot single room like hut.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes, we don't have restroom inside the house. We don't have kitchen stuff. Sometimes cooking just out of the door outside.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of this knowledge is what made me feel so grateful and feel the need to share these stories and share how you were able to do well despite such difficult circumstances, because I know that many people, including myself, sometimes feel like, oh, life is so hard or something, but there are always ways to stay positive and continue working toward better. We hope that our conversation will inspire you in some way. Everyone really liked the episode where I talked about my family background a little, about what my dad went through to get to the US. A lot of the wisdom that I have that you like to listen to is all because of him. So he really shaped the way that I think of things and how I'm able to find some forms of success that I have now. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I'm very glad to be here to share what I'm thinking.
Yeah, for sure. So I have some guiding questions to help organize our thoughts a little bit, but this is kind of a conversation where, just feel free to say whatever. Well, also let's sync the audio. So usually we have to like clap, so then we can sync the music together. So yay! Not music, audio. Okay, great. So a lot of people have struggle right now with studying or working hard. So what helps you be able to work hard since you were a young age?
That's a very interesting question and I feel like very important. Basically, when I was in the elementary school, when we were at that age, and we actually we don't really know, what's the importance of learning and school, those things. We just have fun. At that time, it's not really. I don't think we work hard at that time.
You just listen to the teacher.
I just listen to the teacher, and I'm doing okay. I'm doing good, but I'm not saying we work very hard at that time. But afterwards, when we go to the middle school, I think we have more pressure, and we feel more competitive, more pressure.
Yeah.
And then I feel like the first thing make me really work hard is because there is a math competition for everybody in the class, and then I got the first place by accident. I don't think I'm at that level at that time, but by accident. And then I got a lot of people's praise, and everybody say you're so good. Then I just feel like, okay, I can do better. So that's why I put a lot of effort into it. And that's only for math, but for other classes or subject, I'm not doing well. I'm not doing well. But because of this one, I work hard, I got more rewarded, and later on, I just feel like what happens if I can also work harder on other subject. I remember my English is a very weak subject, but I have to just memorize all the paragraphs and all the papers lessons, right? In the beginning, it doesn't really show any improvement, but over time, after like several semesters, I actually getting better and better. So eventually I get good results.
I see. So a lot of it is from, first of all, the positive reward, and makes you realize that, oh, doing something makes me feel good and makes me able to actually become better. So yeah, it's the knowledge that like putting in the work will actually yield results.
Yeah, I think I really like the way the US, the parents encourage the kids to say you are the best, you can do better. All of those, I think it's better than you just push them harder, and then just they have the motivation or they have the interest to do it.
Yeah.
So that's the most important.
Yeah, that's so interesting, because I feel like a lot of Asian parents are known to be the discipliners of the kids rather than cheerleaders,
Yeah, I think it's like a mixed feeling, because we come from a place that have many more competitions going on, so we are under a lot of pressure. So when we go through those as a parents, we kind of feels like we hope our kids to be more successful than us. Sometimes we want the kids to realize, to achieve more than what we do. So that's why we kind of put a lot of pressure into it. But on the other hand, the US kind of, like you said, parents many times give a lot of cheerleader, those kind of encouragement. But it's need to be a balance, I think.
Yeah. I agree, because sometimes the downside of the US teaching is that even if the kids didn't try their hardest, then the parents are like, oh, great job. And then that's not actually productive to their own success later on.
I moved here on 27.
Okay, yeah. So very, very impressive and amazing to have moved here from a background living a whole life in China and kind of adapting to the culture. I do want to ask about the English learning. So you said that in the beginning, you didn't see much progress, right? So what helped you keep going? Because a lot of students or adults even, they want to pursue something, but the moment they don't see results, it's very easy to give up.
Yeah, I think the reason for that is actually interesting, because I'm doing well in math, in physics and chemical, right? So all of those subjects I'm doing well. But then in the literature and the English, those are not that good. But the teachers, they actually want to say, oh, okay, you're a good candidate, right? So you have good potential. So the teachers put a lot more effort, actually talk to my parents and then talk to me. So they actually give me more assignment to say, okay, if you're doing good on those areas, you need to be balanced. You need to improve English and other subjects so that you can get to a better college. That's the initial background. And then my parents, basically, they push me hard, right? So they push me hard. They say, okay, you have to put more effort. My mother, she didn't know any English. She actually only finished elementary school. But in order to help me to improve, she actually take the textbook and she know the Chinese way to say ABCD, but she didn't know the ABCD by English, right? So she actually, in order to help me, she learned that. She learned the very basic, just 26 characters of the English,
I didn't know
so that she can help me.
Oh.
So that's very, I mean, for parents kind of thing, like you said, you thanks for me to help you, but I really appreciate the effort by my parents. They're even in a harder situation, and then they put so much effort, into me, so make me more successful.
Yeah, that's very, very sweet and amazing. I think it's interesting that it seems almost as if the more your parents struggle and the more effort they put in, the more it lights the drive in yourself, right?
Yes.
Because you see your parents' efforts and you think, well, if they put in that much effort, then I should as well.
Yeah.
Right.
I think for parents, I mean, from my own experience, it's hard to be a parent because it's first time for me to be a parent. Right?
Yeah, first time for everyone.
And it's just we don't know what to do, right? So we sometimes we just ask ourselves, should I put that much pressure on my kids, or it need to be more like make them happy at that time. But eventually, we feel like same thing like I said in the beginning, it's kind of a balance. I think every kid is different. With you and your sister is different, right? And also because right now I'm a teacher, I noticed that everybody is different. So it's hard to have a same strategy or same way to do it. But no matter what, I do believe for everybody, if they put more effort, for this same person, she will or he will getting better. Then if he don't put much effort.
So essentially every person should have a growth mindset.
Yes.
Yeah. Because each person, even though they're different, they have their own potential that they can reach and a greater lifestyle, greater achievements that is already possible within them, right? You just have to put in the effort to get there.
Yeah, I think in US sometimes we say, oh, we don't want to be, compared to other people. You are yourself. You are the best. That's not really true, because when you go to the job interview, when you go to the, apply a college, at that time, you are being compared, no matter you want or not, right?
Yeah.
So just like in sports, right? So you are in the world to be competitive.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's like a balance. I think comparison is the thief of joy. You don't want to compare things like, oh, how much money you have or how much material, like a big house, nice car, or your friends and things like that. But it's important to understand that there are limited resources despite an abundance mindset. So, there are limited jobs. Right now, the job market's really hard. So we have to keep that in mind to build our skills and human capital to set us up for a greater life and for the future generation.
Yeah, I think, when you say cars or other stuffs you have, those are things that make you happy too. But on the other hand, there is something else we can also make us happy is if you have some achievement, right? So you're doing better in the, maybe exams, and then you're doing better in one of the sports. So it just makes your life more, splendid or more, wonderful, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think that whenever I get something new, I'm very happy and excited, but it's always temporary.
Yes.
But if, I played basketball as a kid and now I can play pickup basketball whenever I want to. I can play tennis with any random group of people. That gives me a lot of joy because the world is just so much more open to me.
Yes.
Because of my abilities.
Yes. Yes. I think when Amy was young and also her sister, same thing, we basically give them a lot of opportunity to explore different things. So all of those are part of life. Not only just say, okay, you're only limited on the learning or the study academic, right? All of those are good, right? So you think about differently is, for your learning or your academic achievement or your work in the future, you want to have something that you can keep on build up, right? So if you say, okay, I only got one stuff and then I got iPhone, I got whatever, that is relatively, you just get it. There is nothing you can build onto it, right? But if you are saying, okay, I learned that and then I can go to the next step, that's just to keep on building up.
Yeah, exactly. So what I learned is to prioritize and value things that you can accumulate. So skills that you can keep accumulating where the value actually increases more over time.
And also it's bring you a long-term, right? Long-term happiness, right?
Yeah. And that's also how my dad is able to be a professor right now. So teaching electrical engineering, he studied that in college, PhD, postdoc, master's, all that. And so I think that it's very interesting that how my dad wants to help people and pass on his knowledge and mentorship to students is similar to like my desire to do that now. And I think that brings a lot of fulfillment, right?
Yes.
So I recently listened to this TED Talk that was saying that when people chase happiness in life, they actually end up more depressed because you're not supposed to chase happiness. What brings happiness is finding meaning in life through being fulfilled within developing yourself and helping others around you and feeling part of a community, just feeling important,
I have been an engineer for many, many years, for more than around 30 years. I basically feedback to the society.
Yeah, exactly. So my dad is working a lot of hours, like way more than he was as an engineer. And at this higher age, it's like harder, right? But the drive behind that keeps him going and makes him enjoy it and happy, even though he's working longer and harder than before. Is because of the purpose that you believe in, right?
Yeah. I think you just need to feel the value, right? So same thing like back to the, how do you feel like, how do you push you harder to work hard, right? So those are things like you believe that you are building up for the value. You improve yourself, it's better for you, then you don't feel like exhausted or you feel a little bit more, happy.
Yeah, exactly. So ever since I was a kid, my dad would always say, just make sure to do things that are good for you. Like, that's the bottom line. That's the shiny headline that you have to remember, because when you're doing things that are good for you, it's framing it in a very positive way that as long as you're doing that, you're using your time well and you're going to be benefiting yourself. Well, I mean, I guess that's obvious. That was kind of circular, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, we all want to be relaxed, right? We all want to enjoy it, especially right now we have so much distractions. But I think it need to be, one side is you want to have the goal, right? You know what's better for you. Another side is you can see the results, right? So sometimes we work hard, like I said in the beginning, the English one, first couple semester, even though I work harder, I don't see the results yet. But after a while, it accumulates to certain time, then you found, I'm way better than I was before.
Yeah, and also you didn't know how useful English would be.
Yes, I don't know.
Yeah, but because you were good at English eventually, then you can have the opportunity to come to the US and then, level up our family even more.
Well, yeah, the thing most important is if my English is not good enough, I cannot go to a good college, right? Then I don't have the opportunity to come to US.
Yeah, like everything matters. Right?
Yeah, everything matters. When we do something, we don't really know what's the opportunities in the future, where it's waiting for you. Basically, they said, okay, the chance I only give the people be prepared, right? But you just prepare something good for you and something happens, you can grab it.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's luck comes to those who are ready for it, something like that. But yeah, I agree. Kind of like when I went to Caltech, I was ready to get straight B's because I was like, oh, it's so hard. But all I did was try my best without the expectation, and I ended up getting all A's. And then when I decided senior year to apply to a grad program, that came in handy. But I didn't even know that I needed that when I started college.
You just do your best, not necessarily 100% you will get the chance, right? Because we don't know.
Yeah.
However, if you're not prepared, then you will never get a chance.
Yeah.
So what happens, I'm saying, is you're prepared. When chance happens, it's there, you can grab it.
How I like to think about it is that you are always trying to increase your probability
Exactly.
of success.
Yeah, that's a better way to put it.
Yeah, so if you have, say like 100, coins or something, right? Like by increasing your skills and abilities, you're making more of those 100 coins valuable. So like when you take one out, it's more likely to be a good one,
yes.
you know? And that's kind of why people want to go to good colleges, right? It doesn't
yes.
guarantee you a good life, but it gives you a greater probability of that.
Exactly. Yeah. When I was working in the company, I was from a Chinese university, which is not the best, right? So it's probably in the world, it's like average universities. But there are a lot of coworkers, they working from Caltech, from MIT. You know, I probably doing as good as a job as those coworkers. However, there are more opportunities for those high, prestigious universities students to get into a better position.
Yeah.
Not necessarily it's working with me is not good because I'm already working in a very, the best semiconductor company. So these people working with me, they are also, has the wonderful job, income, and future. But when you go to those colleges, you have more opportunities to get into a better job or opportunities than other people.
Yeah. So the coworkers from MIT and Caltech that work with my dad, they're all in a great position right now working at this company. But the point is that these MIT and Caltech alumni have more options.
Yes,
potentially.
They have the potential.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because of their alumni network, their experience, and then just the clout.
Well, just to compare with, when I went back last year to, see my classmates in elementary school or middle school, they are doing not that good. They were not doing good because, I be able to get to a good college. I came to US, I have more opportunities, right? So in average, if you work harder, you just get more chance later on.
Yeah. So you talked a lot about how we have to believe in the result in order to put in the work. But what would you tell younger folks who don't really believe in the result yet? Like, how do you stay disciplined?
That is hard. I think I really don't know how to keep the discipline. I think well, for some people, maybe it's just a personality. First, put more effort, it's better for you, right? And also, you need to be patient to let the results come out. It may not come out immediately, but you know that if you learn more, you know better, you know more, right? And then you will be better than if you don't do that. So eventually you'll see the results, but you have to be patient and the discipline, that's hard to keep. I think yourself or the parents or the friends, they have a big influence to that too.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely to do with the people you surround yourself with. Like if everyone around you is lounging around all day, it's going to be way harder to be disciplined. For me, what really helped is the default knowledge that if I have like 2 hours in front of me right now, I might as well do something good with it. It's kind of like if I have a homework assignment, I might as well try my best on it because I have to do it anyway.
Yeah, I think you are more disciplined by yourself, but I like the word you said previously is you want to be in a good environment. That's really, really important because that's why we say we want to go to a good school, right? Even I'm not saying talking about college, I'm just saying even elementary school or your friends, right? So you have a environment that people all similar. They want to, in that environment, people doing the similar things as what you are pursuing. It's hard for you, like everybody is playing and you just do your homework. That's really hard. But if you see other students doing the homework as well, it's more easily for you to be disciplined.
Yeah, but did you have that experience where you
no, not really. I think my experience is different. Like I said, most of my classmates in the middle school, they are not doing good. They just finish their high school and then they go to the factory to work. They have a job there. Like 40 years ago, people, students feel like they can just go to the factory because that's the default. But me is different. It's interesting because girls more likely to work harder and then in my middle school. So I kind of not doing well with the other boys. So that's why, okay, I stick with some good girl students. So that's why I kind of still a small environment or a group.
I see. So it's like you were more proactive in making a group that studied well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I guess that's the advice. It's like, I think some people tell me that it's hard to find friends who have the same values. So what would you say there?
I think, based on my experience, even with you and your sister, is as a kid, you more likely listen to the friends more than probably parents and teachers sometimes, right? So I think that's important. You basically choose the friends that have the same goal or same habit or same desires or those things. You can more easily to communicate and getting away from kids that is too different from what you want to do.
Yeah. Like when I was on the basketball and volleyball teams, I think I was the only student who really worked hard. So I was kind of left out. Like you saw that. I was kind of left out. But I think I found comfort with friends outside of my teams because I stuck strong to my values. I didn't change my values because of the volleyball team. I adapted my friends to my values. I didn't adapt my values to my friends.
Yeah, there are a lot of kids you can choose from. You just need to be a little bit selective. If you have the same goal, you have more topics similar, be able to talk with.
What if you have a friend who is starting to become like a little toxic, like making you worse? How do you deal with that?
Yeah, I think you have to, you just need to spend more time with the other people similar to you.
Yeah, so I get this question a lot about how to set boundaries or get away from a toxic relationship, for example. So my perspective on this to do with reaching your goals and to have the right environment is a human connection is still absolutely necessary. So you cannot set boundaries away from this friend and just not have any friends. You have to reallocate your time to other people who bring you more joy and more energy.
Yes, a similar situation is you move to a rich neighborhood, right? And then you don't want your house to be the most expensive in that neighborhood. You want your house to be in the middle or a little bit lower end, so that you're not really saying you're the best in there, so that you can probably learn from other people. You basically get motivated to be better. Man, this is not a good example. You need to get rid of that.
No. I know what you mean. It's the equivalent is don't be the smartest person in the room.
Yes, exactly. Because if you are the smartest, you cannot learn from others too much, right? So in Confucius said, 3 people are working together, right?
Yeah.
One of that will be your teacher, right? However, if you are not the smartest, you learn less from other people than other people learn from you, right? So that's the reality.
Yeah, I think that as someone who has an achiever personality, sometimes it feels nice to be the smartest, but it's not the most beneficial. Sorry.
Yeah, I think you need to be, no matter what you do, you want to have the opportunity to be exposed to something more advanced or better.
Yeah.
For example, if you are in a remote area, you're inside a mountain area, you never saw a train. So you wouldn't imagine there is something automatically can wrong, right? So you have to be exposed to those.
Yeah. I'm a strong believer from my life experience and seeing your background that more people need to gravitate towards discomfort. to trying new things,
Yeah.
right? Like maybe you were scared coming to the US, but you did it anyway. And then for me, I had so many friends who were gonna stay in my hometown, in my home state, but I was like, no, I'm gonna go to California for college. And that was the best decision I've ever made. And then going to New York, and then my world has just expanded, right? Because like you said, environment is so important, number one, but also number two is to actually be exposed to new environments.
Yeah.
And that's the only way you will know things. Because the scariest thing, I think, is that you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. So you will feel like, okay, I'm good enough, right? That's, everything every daily work, you just do whatever you do, you used to do, but you don't know how wonderful, how great the outside is.
Yeah. Yeah, like maybe my sister and I were both valedictorian in our school, but that the school is not like that great.
Exactly, yeah. When Amy and her sister went to college, they feel like, okay, I'm not that good in many areas because people in California, they're much more competitive, and then they need to do a lot of extra works, or not only say academic, but also sports, other activities.
Yeah, but it was amazing. Like my dad was so happy to know that like we were average there, and we were happy too actually, because we just met so many amazing people, and that's how you get inspired and become even better. Because to be frank, my sister and I were actually not that happy in our high schools, and at Caltech we were the happiest we've like ever been, because we were surrounded by people who inspired us, who were better, and who were like they had just more variety in experiences.
Yes.
Skills. I think a lot of this is like kind of sounds helpful for parents, but also if you're a student or like younger adult listening to this, I think it's still valuable. Like you just take whatever knowledge you need for yourself, like about putting yourself in a new environment. You can do that yourself, right? It's not just about your parents putting you in that new place.
Yeah, it's not just saying in a different location. For example, if I just with a small group, pretty good, right? So we are good friends, we do those routines. But what happens if I jump out of that to just open the eyes to see if there is something else I can learn from?
Yeah, that's actually why I feel like I was never in a very exclusive friend group. Like maybe I had some close friends, but I just loved getting to talk to new people in every single like group, because I was just genuinely interested. Because you never know, right? You can make a new friend, you can connect with something you don't know before. So it's really important not to restrict yourself in your environment and your peers, and it's important to not restrict yourself on your identity.
Yes.
So when I was in middle school and high school, I think my identity was very much so that I'm shy and I don't raise my hand in class. But just because I was that before doesn't mean I can't change that identity.
Yes, exactly. If you notice something you need to improve, right? Not only say the academic, say like I said, English, right? But if you feel like my personality has some weakness, I can put a little bit more pressure into myself to get better. I was very shy too when I was young. I like I said, I probably talked to a lot of girls in the class, right? So it's because they're easy to go in, right? So because they're not that aggressive. The boys tend to be more aggressive, right? And so I was quite shy, and then I realized that I need to get improved. So I actually go to the like road, and then intentionally ask people, say which direction I need to go to somewhere, even though I know that. And even though I know that direction, I know where it is, I just want to push myself to open my mouth.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, it's hard.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
It's hard to just realize to just examine yourself, to say, okay, where I can do better. I think talking to people and has communicated with other people, that's very, very most important thing.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting that our background is engineering, but we think that soft skills like communication, how you present yourself, is actually a lot more important, like in any field, you know?
In any field. I have several times experience is I have one idea, one strategy on the work. Then I talk to my coworkers. Sometimes during that explanation, I know better on that topic already.
Regardless of how the conversation goes, like you can still learn something.
Yeah, of course. When you talk about that, maybe you give other people ideas too.
Yeah, so essentially communication is important not only for the exchange of ideas, but also in your ability to articulate your thoughts.
Yeah.
And then as you're articulating it, you might think of something different about your own ideas.
Yeah, it's not just yourself get benefit, the other party got benefit too.
Yeah, exactly. So I think something really great that my dad has taught me is to think win-win. My dad, when he comes up with patents or new ideas, even if one of his coworkers helped a little bit, he will give them a lot of credit.
Exactly.
Right? Before, when I was younger, I didn't really understand this. So, for example, if I do something in a group project, I'm always like, I put in more effort. They don't deserve this credit for the group project, right? But then what my dad taught me is, when he created patents or projects, even if it was just one conversation he had with a coworker about it, he will give them credit on the paper for the actual project. Like no matter how much contribution, he would give them a lot of credit. It's a win-win because now that coworker also thinks of my dad very favorably.
It's kind of encouragement to and also reward for the other party. So when you do that, most likely people will do that back to you. So that's why we are saying it's a win-win situation. Is it's like a positive feedback, right? So you help other people help you at the same time too.
Yeah. I think a lot of the concepts we've talked about today link to one another. How we said about positive feedback you need for yourself, but also the positive feedback you give to other people, such that they will help you, and then everyone just keeps getting better, right?
Yes.
I think it's very, very important to have that abundance mindset and the generosity, because a lot of people, if they're competitive, they will gatekeep and they will not say some things to other people. But the way that I think about things is like the moment I have an opportunity, I'll share it with my friends and I'll be like, hey, let's go do this thing together, because it's more fun that way. And then humans are also psychologically inclined to reciprocate. So when you help other people genuinely, they will want to help you. And I can't think of a specific example right now, but there are so many instances where I was good to one of my friends, or I was good to even an acquaintance, and then randomly one day they would help me with something.
Yes, exactly. You don't, when we need to think about the bigger picture. So that's one lesson I learned from a friend is basically one of the professor, he will have all his research work open to other people. Some people will ask him, why do you share with other people those results, right, before you even get published? He said, I'm already ahead, right? So if I told them, it will help me to do more, I can do better. So that's one thing. Another thing is, if we think a bigger picture, say, for example, we have a friend group of like 5 or 6, right? So if we compete inside each other, that's meaningless. Because we want to do is we help each other to getting better, and then we compete with the outside. You think about the big picture, right? So this is a very, very small group.
Yeah.
So what's the meaning you compete inside it?
Yeah, that's very petty, right? I actually heard one of my subscribers comment saying that in his or her friend group, all the friends are very competitive and ask like, what did you get on this test? Like, how did you do here, right? And then we might, many instances, have competitive friends. Like I had a very competitive friend when I was in middle school. But you have to realize like, it's, like you said, very meaningless, because if you make a mistake, you can help someone, then they don't make the mistake, and then they help you back, and then everyone gets farther than if they were alone.
Exactly.
And that's synergy. 1 + 1 = 3.
Yeah, 1 + 1 greater than 1, greater than 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we are talking about, because first is we want to be motivated ourselves, right? Second, we want to be in a group or with a group of people that similar to me, have similar goals, and then we can getting more disciplined or easier to work harder, right? The third is we want to maintain or we want to make that group better, not just myself, right? So if we all getting better, we're just getting better and better.
Yeah. I think right now there's what's called the loneliness pandemic or epidemic. So basically a lot of the youth, like Gen Z and younger, are very lonely. Even millennial, very lonely because of social media.
Yes.
It's ironic, right? And people actually struggle more and more with motivation, with discipline. I think because of that lack of human connection and the helpful environment, because like we said, it can't just be you as an individual feeling drive and motivation. You have to be encouraged by outside forces. So I think my advice about that now is that when you are consuming content, try not to consume content from people who you wouldn't align with in real life, right? Because a lot of the content out there, especially if you're watching TikToks, right? Maybe these girls are just showing off their clothes every day, right? But that's going to subconsciously make you value those things more and be like, hey, why don't I just make TikToks? And like, why do I have to care about school? So when we spend more time online instead of with real people, we also have to be mindful of the kinds of content we are consuming.
Yes, that's actually very important because if we spend more time individually looking at the social media on those things, we just get isolated, right? So we want to have an open area so that we can talk to people, just to generate more ideas, and then we can help each other. Before, when we have a party, everybody is having fun and talk to each other. So that's really good for your mental health and everything. But right now, is everybody go to the party and looking at the phone. There is nothing. What's the meaning about that?
Try to initiate meeting people in real life and know that social media is not social.
Yeah.
And yeah, like for example, when I moved to New York, maybe a lot of people I knew were online, but I proactively said, hey, let's meet up in person and like get coffee or something. That's just something we have to put even more effort into. Like right now with social media, we think that makes interaction easier, but actually when you find it hard to meet new people, understand that that's normal for it to be hard, but you have to get over that hump and be willing to put in the effort of meeting people in real life and connecting with them, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah. What I mean is like, just because something is hard doesn't mean it's not worth it and not impossible to do, right? Because at the end of the day, we still need that. Some things that I thought you talked to me individually that were really helpful is the idea that in your life, there are things you should be doing at each point in your life. So talk a little bit.
Yeah, I think that is very important because, when I was in college, I need to, work hard to get good grade and then go to the next step, right? So I go to college, then go to graduate school and then PhD and then, postdoc and then go to the job, right? So those are when I was young, that's the job or that's the work I should do, right? So when I have you and get married and have kids, that's the time I need to spend my effort to, basically stay with my kids and then, grow with them together. Of course, that's very enjoyable too, right? So that's the life experience. I just feel like, I'm a normal person. I want to do a normal person will do. I, grew up, I study, and then I go to college, and then I, have family, I have kids, and then grow with them, right? So I did that, and I feel like looking back over that many years, I think I did the best thing. And also when I was like 30 years or 35 years, and then I basically read a lot of those people's, their experience. They said, before, when they're, close to the end of their life, what's they regretting? They're regretting is I didn't spend time with my family. I read those, I feel like that's true. So that's why I do spend a lot of time with my wife, and we both spend time with my kids, right? And then we grow with them, we encourage them in the all the activities. And then after they grow up, they go to college, and then after that, my period of time right now is basically in the last piece of my career. I want to give my experience back to the society. And then also taking care of my parents. So that's the period of time I'm in. After that, I will be, doing the retirement work, enjoy the time. Whatever the period you are in, I'm just doing what should be done.
Yeah, so the idea is that with every period of your life, it's meant for something specific. For people in their 20s, that's a time for self-discovery. That is a time for feeling lost, but it's a time where you should do what your 20s are meant for. It's to explore, it's to grow your career, it's to learn, right? And when you're a student, you have to be doing what a student should be doing, right? Because that's the time period that you're in. You don't want to miss out on that. So I think students struggle with wanting to study because they're like, oh, why do I have to do this, right? But like, that's what you're meant to do at that point. You have to be growing your knowledge and your ability to manage time, to organize, to communicate with people. You have to be learning that at that time period, because if you let that pass and you didn't gain those skills, you will be behind.
When we are growing up, right, we are building our physical, our body, but also we are building our knowledge to be able to be more competitive in the future in the world, to be able to survive better.
Yeah, like I think we have to understand again the big picture. Like, why do we have education? It's because it's essential for you to be a valuable part of society later, which means that you can then earn the money that makes your life better and to give yourself a stable life.
Yeah, we are in a very good period of the whole history. We just think, okay, we have a good life, we have all those technologies, we have good food, enough food. But when you look back in the history, this is a very, very short period of time. And then if you look like maybe 1920s, we know that we have the Great Depression, right? At that time, people are hard to find a job and do not have income, do not have food, right? So that can happen. It's not necessary to say it will never happen. It will happen sometime. We don't want that to happen. We hope it never. But if you are doing better, you will have more value in the society. You have more chance to be able to survive or have a good life when that happens.
Yeah. Right now, we have to realize that we're actually in a good time period, regardless of what's happening in the world. I know there's always bad stuff happening, but especially in first world countries and like the US where we are currently, it's a pretty good life. We have to remember that.
It is a very good life. It's the best. That's one of the things we are talking about, the environment, right? So what happens, if you're in another country, right? So you want to always pursue a better life that including the good environment.
Yeah. And just because our lives are good right now doesn't mean it's time to be complacent, because like my dad was suggesting, something could happen and you want to be able to survive whatever might happen.
Well, if you think about more long term, say, okay, I'm doing okay, I'm doing good with this environment, even though in my lifetime everything will be good, right? So that's very possible. But what happens for the next generation, right?
Yeah. And the idea, I think that's in my family's background, and I think a lot of Asian families' background, is that we want every generation to be stronger than the last. Hence why my grandma, grandpa, they sacrificed a lot. Like, they even studied English themselves to help my dad. And then my dad, at work in the US, he would study math competition things just to help me and my sister.
Yes. Yes, I think that's the responsibility too, because that's actually what human beings is doing, right? So we want to be, better, not only knowledgeable, but also we realize, how, what we do is the impact to the world, and we want to make the whole human beings to be better. Right?
Yeah.
So.
I feel like we're both pretty idealistic.
Yes.
Honestly.
Yeah. Well, on one side, I said, I'm kind of a normal person. I want to do what a normal person do, right, for their lifetime. But also we want to do the right thing. We want to say, okay, it's, we think that's the best. Not necessarily it's true, but that's our belief. That's my belief.
Yeah, just do your best.
Yeah. Just put in the effort, and at the same time, of course, we want to have fun, we want to enjoy the life. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. The philosophy is, regardless of the situation you're in, if it's studying or a job you don't like, regardless of how much you don't like it, still put in your best effort, because you might as well, and you'll see the good things that can come out of it.
Yeah.
Right? And then once the time comes for you to find a new job, or once the time comes for you to no longer have to study, you will still be grateful for putting in the effort when you didn't enjoy it, right?
Yeah, I think one thing I want to say is when we say work hard, what's the, really how hard it is hard, right? That's hard to define. But what I want to say is you don't really need to say I get up early in the morning and then sleep late. That's not what I mean. You probably just do a little bit every day. You don't really feels like that much of an effort. But if you do a little bit every day, then other people, or than you used to do, you are getting better and better.
Yeah, exactly. So this is also one of my dad's trademarks that he tells me. He just says, just do a little extra.
Yeah, a little bit extra, because, for example, you go to a restaurant, right? So, of course, the waitress are expecting a tip, right? But if you are not doing a little bit better than people, you just say, okay, I deserve that. You will not get rewarded, right? So if you do a little bit better, you heard the stories that somebody will give a big tip, right? Why? If you're not doing good, you're not treating the customer well, a little bit better than other people. So that will help.
Yeah, it's really important to realize that doing a little bit extra sets you way above average, actually.
Exactly. It's the consistency, right? So you
because
do a little bit better today, tomorrow, the day after, that accumulates.
Yeah. So I think it's really interesting that even though I think, my dad works pretty hard, I work pretty hard, but we don't really think of working hard as staying late nights. Like, we always prioritize health and sleeping however much we need. Working hard is really just putting in a little bit extra effort than you might have, or more than the average person.
Well, it's the balance, right? You don't want to push your heart to make you really uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
So that you lose your enjoyable, right?
Yeah. I think that's what a lot of people get wrong about being productive and successful. People think you have to hustle and grind, so you are more miserable than people who don't grind. People think that you have to be sadder before you become happier with your life, right?
Yeah.
But our philosophy is that by just doing a little bit extra, you are actually also happier in the process. For example, this past winter in the holidays, downstairs there was hot cocoa and some cookies. So when I went to go get my package from the front desk, I was like, hey, did you guys see the hot cocoa and cookies? And then they're like, oh no, we can't go and get those. So I was like, okay. And then I had the idea, let me just bring some to them. So I went downstairs, I balanced 2 hot cocos in my hands with cookies, and brought them to the front desk. And they were incredibly happy, and they were like, wow, that's so sweet. And so now every time I go pick up my packages from the front desk, they know me by name, and they go get my packages before I even ask for it.
Yes. That's a good example. Put a little bit of effort, and then you don't see the results immediately. There is nothing can happen immediately. So you need to know that. So you just put a little bit of effort day by day, and when you are patient, then when they accumulate, something happens, something good happens.
Yeah, so the greatest threat to success is not failure, but it's boredom. Boredom and being impatient is actually your greatest threat to success. And it's said in the very famous book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. When you do a little bit extra, or you have this one good habit, you will easily feel bored and unexcited because you feel like you're not actually doing anything. You feel like you're not working hard enough. But really, when you put in this little extra day by day consistently, it will accumulate exponentially, right?
Yeah.
Just like when you improve by 1% every day. So when I was in school, maybe I do just 2 hours extra of math every week, right? 2 hours, that's not actually a big deal in the span of a week's hours. But that helps me be able to win some math competitions, and being a better problem solver eventually led me to get into Caltech. And then working a little harder at Caltech led me to where I am now.
Well, yeah, it's you think about it, it's the accumulation, right? So the first is you do a little bit more, and then you got rewarded when some period happens, right? When you get reward, you get more interested into this same topic, and then you want to put a little bit more than what you have done before. So it just becomes better and better.
Yeah, so I think also right now in society, it's all about being effortless and like cool. Taylor Swift said in her NYU speech, she said that effortlessness is a myth, right? The people who actually put in a little bit extra, those are the people who she will hire for her company. So you want to be with people who want to try hard. People say try hard like it's something bad, but it's actually good, and it's not really trying that much harder, actually.
Yes, just a little bit more, you are different from the people don't put in the effort.
Yeah, it's actually, like I said in another episode, it's actually so easy to be above average.
Oh yeah, like you just the example you said, you bring the cookies and cocoa to the front desk people, right?
Yeah.
So that's not that much effort, right? You just feel like happy after you do that too, right? So they will be better to you, and everybody is happier.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not someone special to have done that, but it's just that extra effort, that thought, like, hey, I can actually bring it to them. And that's not some extra effort that most people would do,
Yes.
Yeah, that's not even an extra thought that someone would have,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like that, because, it's very happy now when I enter the front door, the front desk people are like, hi.
That's actually true for the society too. My wife and I went to Singapore, right? So we feel like, oh, Singapore is a great country because when we go to the subway, we don't know where to go. We didn't even ask, and the people just volunteer come to us, say, where you want to go, we can help you. When it happened multiple times, you just feel like, oh my God, this is a very nice country. People are so civilized, the people are so nice, and then we just have very good impression on that. Of course, when they do that, they feel themselves happier because they help somebody.
Yeah, exactly. In pretty much all of the situations I've been in, the thing that makes that situation happier and more enjoyable is the people.
Yeah.
It's always the people, you know. That's why.
So that's also say, okay, when we, try to be more open, talk to people, more communication, that's better.
Yeah. We said kind of similar advice for all different aspects, but it's because everything links together, it's very holistic. And even though maybe the bullet points of the conversation are similar, it's like by listening more to other people, just like we are recommending, you are absorbing that into your own habits, and that will help you be able to execute them. I do want you to share Bao's story. So I have a cousin, well, I have multiple cousins, of course, but I have a cousin who is my dad's little brother's son. And I think that his story is so incredible and inspiring that I want my dad to share it. So oftentimes I talk about my story, some struggles, like how I got through things, my advice, but I think this one is like so amazing. So
my younger brother, he didn't do well in the high school, right? So he just average or even below a little bit. But, we are also in a not that good, environment, not in a good school. So that's why he didn't go to college. And then when he has the kids, he saw, okay, my brother, that's me doing so well. And then, I want my kids to be good, right? To be better, have a good opportunity, have a good future. That's why he actually pushed his kids much harder than normally do. At the same time, he put so much effort into it. So they were living, like I said, in the not good district and not good school. So they pushed him hard so that he can get better grade, go to a better district.
Yeah, I'll just clarify a couple things. So because there's a lot of pronouns like they or like he, so
Okay.
I'm just going to clarify. So we'll just say Amy's uncle or like your brother, and then my cousin's name is
Bao Bao.
yeah, that's a Chinese name. We'll say Brandon.
Okay, Brandon.
Yeah, so
Okay.
yeah, so
I'll use those words, yeah.
okay. Yeah, so basically just to make sure it was clear that backstory.
Yeah.
So my uncle was not the highest performer in school. He was average and even below average. He would come home from school saying he can't study because his head hurt.
Yes.
So he was never able to go to college. He just did high school. But then after seeing how well my dad did, how the higher education my dad did led him to a great life in the US and so on, my uncle decided he really wants to make sure that his kid gets opportunities through education. So even though they were living in a bad school district, my uncle would help my cousin Brandon a lot, pushing him in school, making sure he understands the importance of education, and sacrificing a lot, including getting my cousin into a better school district.
Yes, that's the result. Eventually, Brandon is going to get the chance to go to a better school inside the downtown area, and then that school is not the greatest. It's above average, but it's better than the school he was in before. And then in order to do that, my brother has to move. They basically rent out their house in the old area, move to the downtown area, and then rent the house, apartment there, and then with a much smaller apartment, but very close to school, so that he can take care of Brandon. And then he also need to quit his job. He basically is a full-time supporter to Brandon. So that's a lot of sacrifice he did. But the results turn out to be very good because Brandon be able to get into the second class university.
Second highest grade, right? Levels into the college. And then Brandon also in the college working hard, and then when he graduate, he work hard, and then he be able to get into the first grade graduate school. So as you can see, the pattern is Brandon initially in the elementary school and middle school is in a relatively low level school district and school, and then he go to a relatively better high school in the downtown area, and then he is able to get into the second level and second grade college for undergraduate, and then he go to the best or first class graduate school. So you can see the path is getting better and better, but during that period, it's the effort by himself and also the push from the parents and also the sacrifice from the parents, all working together. So this is individual effort, environmental, and also parents and family, and also friends. All of those work together. So you just get better, more opportunities by doing that. Yeah. So because of my uncle's efforts and sacrifices, quitting his job just to dedicate himself as a cheerleader and supporter to Brandon's education, and even moving from a larger apartment to a small apartment, all these sacrifices solely for Brandon's education.
The results tend to be good.
Yeah.
Right? That will ensure Brandon right now, he has better opportunities.
I'm trying to think of the word. I'm so bad with words sometimes. So what I'm trying to say is that all this effort materialized or realized the dream of having a higher education, because my uncle didn't have this chance to because he wasn't a good student, but because he recognized that he had some shortcomings. He made sure that his kid didn't have the same thing. So now my cousin Brandon is able to go to the highest level university for graduate school.
Yes.
And he is essentially now set up for a greater future than my uncle had. And
Yes.
so every generation is getting better than the last. I feel that even though my sister and I are in the US, my cousins are also doing very well in China simply because they worked hard, and my family, my aunt and my uncle also really value education, right?
Yeah, I think also because we're doing good here becomes an example for them.
Yeah.
So they know what's the goal, what they need to do.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, kind of also like the positive feedback, right?
Yes.
They see what's possible, so then they are more inclined to also put in effort. Yes. It's pretty hard to not see what could come out of your effort, right? So that's why I think it's really important to learn stories like this one, to learn stories of other successful people, but
Yes.
more importantly, to learn how they struggled. Don't just learn about their successes. You have to learn about their struggles and understand that your same struggles can also lead to great results.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, that was a very important thing I wanted to share because, yeah, I just think it's really crazy. I think the way that you explained it to me originally was like uncle sacrificed even more things. But
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, because they moved to the downtown area, and Brandon's mom has to travel, commute a much longer time to go to the work, right? Go to her job. So it's both sacrificed by his father and and the mother.
Yeah, yeah. So my aunt then had to commute a lot longer. So it's all about parents being willing to sacrifice that much for their kids' education, that we should also value it. Because even though we say, oh, parents, they don't know what they're talking about, sometimes we're just like, you have to realize like they have life experience, they have wisdom. Like we would be doing ourselves a favor by understanding why they want us to do something so badly. Like when our parents say, put your phone away, it's all for the best. It's not just because they're nagging. For people who feel a little bit discouraged right now, maybe they're in a slump or a low period in their life, or they're struggling to be motivated or get out of bed, like what would you tell them? What would you tell the people who are currently struggling and not sure how to keep going?
Well, that's probably easy to say. I say, okay, you need to, probably think about your future.
Yeah.
That's easy to say, but really hard to do. I have no idea, how can we help in or have any advice in that situation. I think it still need to be get back to the say, okay, so I know what we want, right? So anybody struggles, right? So we have period of time that we struggle too, myself. Of course, you want to, encourage yourself. You want to say, okay, I need to be patient. I need to work hard. Good things will happen, but just hard to do. I understand, totally understand.
My perspective is that it's a kind of gradual shift. So even when I'm in my low points, it takes patience as well to get back into the grind or to be energetic and like excited again.
Yeah, I think, what is life, right? So life is, we come to this world, we have all those experience, we want to be, enjoy the happiness, right? So that's the only thing. So what make you happy? When we are on a low mood, the worst thing you think about is, I don't want to have this life, right? So that's the worst, because better or worse, that's your life, that's your experience, right? So sometimes if I say, okay, when I was young, I kind of, my health is not that great. So I got sick many times, frequently. But I feel like that's the God, right? So that's God let you experience, right? So let you to go through those. You just need to live with that.
Yeah. That's right. So my dad would always say how he got sick a lot. He was a very unhealthy kid overall, or like sensitive to a lot of things. So yeah, it's not easy for him to have come out and accomplish the things he did, because it's not like he was set up to do that easily. But his perspective is that you don't have to be religious, but you can think of the things that happen in your life on a spiritual level. You can be like, this is the way it is. This is the way that life has been set up for me. So that has a purpose. And that purpose, if I struggle more, is maybe to overcome those struggles and then help people in the future.
Yeah,
so it's like...
it's just, that is what it is. You cannot really change, but you just do what you can do. Right?
Yeah. So if you're struggling right now or anything, like, we may not understand your specific situation, but know that greater things are to come.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if you just put a little bit more effort, make yourself say, okay, happy, right? That happy is not from something temporary. You want to have some happiness that can keep bring you happy.
If you're in a slump, maybe start small, like listen to a motivational story or read a book, take it easy.
Like music, all of those helps.
Just remember that you've already overcome a lot of hard things. I think every single person has already gone through a lot of hard things and been strong enough to overcome them. So you can definitely keep going through new hard challenges. Like, whenever I feel so like hopeless or like something is so hard, I'm like, oh, actually, you know what? I went through Caltech, or like, I went through that.
I think, sometimes you need to really look at the big picture. Like I said, first, we are in a good period of time in the history, in the human being history, right? And my wife and I were saying, we want to be healthy and live longer. We want to see how beautiful this world is, right? How it's turned out. It's all the technology, everything. It's so exciting.
You're very, what's it called? Optimistic, I think, because I think some people don't want to see how this world turns out.
Okay.
One of the biggest solutions to feeling down and like thinking life is hard is just to have gratitude for what you do have.
Yeah.
Right. Closing thoughts.
No, I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk to everybody, and I really feels like we have a good life right now. It's in a good period of time, good environment, all the technology. It's just so exciting. Imagine that you have the cell phone that has the power of all the other, probably in 40, 50 years ago, is inside a whole room the equipment can achieve.
Yeah, when I was
that's
younger.
Just impossible.
Yeah, when I was younger, my dad took me to work. Bring your kid to work day. And then we saw this giant box that filled like half a room. And that has like a fraction of the power that this little thing has right now.
This is really amazing, but we want to use that well.
Yes. We want to be grateful and understand that this is amazing, but therefore we wanted to make our lives better.
Yes.
not worse. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yay. Thanks so much for sharing your wisdom with me. Yay. Okay. Bye. Good job.